Hello, welcome to The Square Window, the podcast that rewinds time to take us back on a nostalgic trip to the golden age of kids' TV shows. I'm Gareth and I'll be your host. I've been a professional animator for almost 3 decades and a cartoon fan all my life, and I love to talk about the shows I watched as I was growing up. My guest on this episode is Andrew Minton. Andrew is currently founder and chief creative officer of Hungry Animals, a purpose-driven gaming platform transforming digital donations for animal charities. I've known Andy since art college, and he's an incredibly creative guy who's passionate about all forms of animation and storytelling. I can't wait to get into today's episode, because Andy's choice of show to talk about is the iconic. So join us as we take a trip through the Square Window. Hello, how's it going?
You know, but mate, about yourself?
I'm good. Cheers for coming on, and cheers for picking this, because as classic kids TV shows go, this is definitely in my top 3.
Same for me, man. Same for me.
Yeah, I can't. I've been letting people choose what they want. I don't know how much longer that's going to go on, because because people aren't choosing the shows that I want to talk about. But this has fallen out perfectly because I love Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, man. Same. There's a lot of love for it all around. You know, just thematically and just the look, everything. So, we can absolutely get into it.
Oh God, yeah. So obviously, we've got some history. I've known you for 1 or 2 years now.
Nice to meet you.
And I know where you're from, and I know what you've done and how you grew up. But do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your sort of television viewing habits as a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Andy Minton. I'm just a full blown creative. I will find any way to just find the creativity in everything we do. But you know, and that stems from cartoons, right? That stems from the cartoons, early 80s. You know, I was born in 77, so I'm now 48, which is really weird. But Saturday mornings, still watching cartoons on a Saturday morning to this day, and that will never change.
No.
And I don't have any kids. So just to make that clear. But you know, from early doors, you know, it's plonked in front of the TV, the sounds and all of the sort of exciting theme tunes that you hear, and just eyes glued, you know, no matter what, eyes were glued. So it's been in me from day one to watch and then reiterate some of those sketches in, you know, even in school books. My mum's given me some super old, you know, books from class where I would just be, rather than doing the exercise, you'll see doodles and sketches of, you know, muscular He-Man, you know, a little bit of sci-fi in there, but it's there from the beginning. For me, it's very much the routine was, you know, mum and dad busy, let's watch some cartoons. Saturday morning, I had a specific slot in the house we were in. I grew up in South Wales, you know, not too far from where you are in Church Village, or Tontig and Church Village, just north of Pontypridd. But I had a specific slot in the house where there was a warm heater, because you had those old school, there wasn't central heating, but there was a central kind of duct, I guess, which blew the fans of heat throughout the house, and I would sit with my back to that one fan in the living room and just be glued to the TV and the cartoons.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
So what about the after school stuff as well then? Because like a lot, I certainly like what we're going to talk about was I remember it as after school. Was there, you know, because wasn't your mum your mum's a school teacher, or a retired school teacher? Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
she was an NEB nurse, which is, you don't get them these days, but they're kind of assistant to teachers in schools, and she still does that to this day, Mandy.
Awesome.
So dealing with early 3 to 5 year olds on a daily basis, wiping asses um, every day. Although that's not allowed now, apparently. You've got to let them in their random. But yeah, so mum was a teacher, but we walked to school, so we weren't too far from. So we would,
Awesome.
come home,
Yeah.
straight TV straight on, and yeah, absolutely, you'd be glued to the show.
Did you have any like sort of family traditions or like family gathering? Was there a point in the week where maybe like the entire family was around the TV or sort of?
Probably Generation Game.
Yeah.
That sort of Saturday night,
Yeah.
early evening, because my dad played football for the local club, so there
Right.
was always that football culture. But when the game's over, yeah, they stay for a bit, or
That's
we'd
right.
come back to the house after watching the game, and then getting ready for tea time and evening meal, and you'd watch Generation Game, and there wasn't that many cartoons at that
Mm.
point in the evening. Parents took over the TV at that point.
Yeah.
It wasn't until you had the 14-inch red Fidelity TV in your own room where you could watch your own stuff. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
quality. So
I had a black and white TV for years, and I vividly remember watching one of the World Cup games on it, and it was Argentina. And like the only way you could tell it was Argentina was because he wore a striped top. That was the only way. Yeah.
yeah, man, yeah, I can imagine a lot of cartoons in that era in black and white would have been so random, but different viewing experience. Absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I admit it's funny how like talking to people now has been triggering sort of memories about stuff that like, there's some that are just vivid, I can just remember like it was yesterday, and then there's others that it's just like unearthed from nowhere. I was talking to my mother the other day about I don't know how, but my grandfather had like an old Super 8 projector,
oh,
and I remember him setting it up for us to watch, and he put a and I must have been about 3, maybe 4, and he put a Tom and Jerry cartoon on it, and it's the one where Jerry turns into like Frankenstein's mouse or something, and just absolutely screaming the house down. They never set that projector up again whilst I was there,
wow.
It's mental, man. It's like I don't remember anything else but that projector other than that. I just remember that cartoon, and I remember
You still
absolutely.
have that? Just
No, well, I don't. If it would be long gone now, I can
that
imagine.
would
But
be a
I know.
collector's item for sure.
You pathetic pair of pitiful pinheads!
I was trying to look into the era that we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
That 80s, that window in the 80s where the US government relaxed the rules on the kind of what you could show on TV, and
yeah,
there was certainly a capitalization of those laxing rules, and
yeah,
what we're talking about, and probably what the other guests have spoken about is that era of
yeah.
toys,
100%.
hybrid connected, and when we're
Yeah, and it
still
was it
talking
was
about
Masters of the Universe opened that door.
yeah,
The Masters of the Universe was one of the first shows after the FCC relaxed the advertising laws
yeah.
that said, right, okay, we can. This is perfect timing. We can do exactly what we want to do now. And so, um, well, you tell me why have you chosen Masters of the Universe as you showed to talk about?
For me, I think it's about the iconic character designs. I'm a character designer. I'm an illustrator. I'm a creative guy, and bringing worlds to life.
Mm,
You really want to look for shape, and I think Master of the Universe is one of those shows which just had these really strong, iconic character shapes,
mm,
designs, color. The palette, where you've got this lime green and purple for the evil. You've got your oranges and your greens and your nature side for the heroic, the heroines stuff. Um, and I think that is a big part of what shaped how I looked at the show in general. It built a world, it built a palette that just blew my mind and opened my eyes to a lot of, what I do today. You know?
Yeah,
So
cool.
it's a pivotal show. Even though I was probably, was I 6 or 7 at the time,
Yeah.
it was a pivotal show in opening my eyes to the world of
Mm.
merchandise, toys, interconnected and interwoven themes that were on TV that then went into comics and short stories and
Yeah.
collectibles and animated shows. So it is one of the ones that kicked off my interest in what we do today.
Yeah, that's a really nice answer. And it's surprising how other people have said similar about the shows that they've chosen, you know what I mean? But I think like we're the same age, so I think at that point, there hadn't been anything like it on TV. You know, there had been Star Wars,
Yeah.
which, obviously we never saw in the cinema when it was first released. We would have seen it on VHS or on TV or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Um, there had been space shows, and there had been, I just think, we were constrained to the 3 channels at the time, before even S4C Channel 4 came around,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of Looney Tunes and City Symphonies and Camberwick Green and all the British shows.
Yeah.
It was before Transformers, but there were things, you might catch Arabian Nights maybe on Banana Splits, until He-Man came along, Masters of the Universe came along, and it was like, whoa, this is amazing. I've never seen anything like this before. Were you sucked in like first episode? Were you like, as soon as you saw it, like, oh, this is me?
I think it was gradual. I think it was gradual
Mm,
because the story development,
mm,
obviously there was some iconic evil characters in there. Skeletor,
mm.
absolutely, it just straight away. I think not so much horrid, nasty, but comically evil. And that's what I
Yes, yeah.
loved about it. The appeal, it wasn't your typical, oh my God, the fear
Mm,
factor of it. It was just like, what scheme are you going to try this week to
yeah.
try and to outwit these heroes and find your way to take over the castle and, the powers and what be. So, yeah, I think it was a blend of those things that just was so appealing. And it just leaped off the screen, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think a biggie was the fact that all other shows were either super, super hi-fi, the sci-fi, your Flash
Mm,
Gordon sort of
yeah.
things, the black and white stuff. I
Mm,
remember that. I remember
mm.
all the puppet style shows,
Stingray and Fiber or Fight
Thunderbirds,
whatever. No, Fiber.
Stingray, Captain Scarlet, and those kind of
Yeah.
things, which were again a little bit weird in terms of how they moved and stuff. But weirdly, I became a puppeteer, random. Um, but yeah, I think it stood out, right? It just
Yeah.
absolutely stood out for me. And it was
Yeah.
that blend of sci-fi and this sort of mysticism fantasy
Mhm.
world, which was really appealing.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll get into it later, but like looking back at it and talking about how it's aged and stuff like that. So like my litmus test at the moment now is I've been watching a lot of TV whilst my twins are on the SETI with their Roblox and their games, and the litmus test is where they can get them to look up, more than twice. If they can get them to look up more than twice, I know there's something in it that they like. And if I can get them to look up without them going, that's a bit cringe, then we win in. So I've had a couple of cringes on the different shows, but not with He-Man. It's like they have like, oh, no. And what's really cool as well is after all this time, and with these kids who are in a completely different zone, the characters are still recognizable. Like one of the boys was like, is that Skeletor, Dad? That's Skeletor, that is, isn't it? It's like no others. He wasn't even certain who He-Man was, but he knew who Skeletor was.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's probably from them seeing like all the memes online, and stuff like that.
It's it stood the test of time. That
Yeah.
stuff. And what you said about characters is really interesting because even the voice performances in the
Mm.
show, looking back, they're solid. They
Oh,
really are solid. There's some tongue in cheek in there, which I really like. There's
yeah.
in when we talk about sort of episodes and stuff. There's some really strong dialogue in there. You know, with the moral end of episode stuff that was introduced. I thought that was great. You know, it really does
Yeah.
makes you think about the themes that were presented in the shows.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them are really serious messages to come back on.
Yeah.
I think
They
there's some aspects in
looking.
it that it was unexpected, and some kids turn off when that bit comes in, right? But
Yeah.
listening in and going, "Oh, yeah, oh, it's a good." The moral of the story is, you know,
Yeah.
those kind of
Yeah.
great moments.
Yeah, that was, I completely forgot about that, until I rewatched a few episodes, you know,
Yeah.
and I forgot that they did the whole moral at the end, and
In today's story, I went in search of my mother. I found her, but I also found something else. That the man who had cared for me since I was a baby, who loved me as he would his own daughter, was just as much my father as any parent could be.
when I've had previous discussions about shows, obviously we've spent the majority of the time talking about the show, innit? Because why else? But I think with this, you kind of you have to talk about the development from before they made the show. Basically, we have these toys, this toy line, and we need to sell it. How are we going to do that? Let's make a cartoon.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even as easy as that, was it? Because first of all, they said, "Oh, let's we're making a comic book to put in with the toys."
Yeah. I mean, these day and age, right? That is the norm, right? You know,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
incentivized extras that are the things that sell it for modern audiences, right? Oh, you know, I get a toy. Yeah, but you know, others I get a toy plus a keyring and stuff. You know, so there's always these extras and stuff. But um, I love the origin of that whole, whether it's Conan or not, right? Whether it's like
Yeah.
a toy line that needed to be pushed, and then all right, we start with black hair, um, to change that to fit a design that was done by Taylor,
Mm,
to get onto screens was amazing. But his concept work, the early artist,
yeah.
you know, the documentary in the background to that, the
Yeah.
concept work on that just blew me away. You know,
Yeah.
watching that and going, you almost like a pre-baked concept there, ready to go. It just was waiting for the opportunity for that to land on their plate.
Yeah.
Um, and
I think from what I understand, they so Mattel had been approached by Fox or basically the Star Wars developers to do the toys for Star Wars, and they passed on it.
yeah,
For I forget the reasons. I think it was the size of the toy line or something like that. The fact that they wouldn't be able to get them when the film came out.
yeah, it was a time
Uh,
frame. It was definitely a time frame issue because
yeah,
they wanted it in a
yeah.
really short space of time.
Yeah, because Kenner did that whole thing, and didn't he, of
The empty
selling the
boxes.
boxes with a piece of paper saying you'll get your toys soon, which is amazing.
IOU toy, like,
Yeah, complete balls, and won it. And so like Mattel were really frustrated and annoyed, and they tried different franchises and different IP, and they failed on everyone. And they thought they had it with Conan, and they produced this line of Conan toys and concept art, and then found out that Conan was going to be R-rated. They wouldn't be able to sell the toys to the kids.
the Schwarzenegger one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, just such a bizarre contrast. You know, the
yeah,
promise is there, it's all going to be. I mean, even the comics are quite sort of brutal, anyway, right?
yeah,
So for them
yeah,
to think in their minds, I know we'll do toys with this. Like
yeah.
If Todd McFarlane was back then, right, it would have been an absolute steal. It would have
Oh,
just
she was, yeah.
flown, right? But
Yeah,
back in the day, no, just such a such a contrast of a brand
yeah.
message.
So they got together then and said, "Well, okay, we need to make our own IP then. What have we got? What can we do to get it out there?" And so, like you said, they sort of retcon some of the Conan concepts and stuff like that. But they are big. The head of marketing. I forget. I got some names. I can't remember what it
I
was
think
now.
it was. I can't remember his first name, but it was Taylor.
Mark Taylor was the concept artist, so he came up with the concept art for most of the Master of the Universe stuff. But there was a marketing director called Mark Ellis, so he got them all together. But he got a guy called Roger Sweet, who was their lead designer. So he got him in and he said, look, we need to do this thing and we want it to be like swords and we want to reuse some of the Conan stuff. So he ended up getting, he was like, muscles, we need something with big muscles because all the toys to this point were sort of, they were normal, average physique, and he was like, oh, we should do something bigger and bulkier. And so he ended up taking like, I'm not sure, I think it might have been a big gym or something, or one of the Conans, and just adding muscle with clay. So
Mhm.
just bulking it right out. And when he took it on this to try and sell the concept, that's what sold it. Was the fact no, it wasn't just this big bulky character, but the major difference that they made was up until then, like a lot of the action figures were just sort of in this solid, stiff pose,
Yeah.
and they made the character into an action pose, with arm raised and axe ready and stuff like that. And that's where that was the thing that sold it to the marketing department, or to basically to free the funds for this thing that they were going to make.
It's
And that's-
interesting. Mark Taylor also did some Turtles stuff as well.
yes,
He
yeah,
designed Turtles. So yeah, got a lot of love for that
yeah.
guy. Just
He's up there with like 80s TV royalty at the moment, isn't he? He's one of the names that are fairly recognizable as you look back. Like,
yeah.
he's been around.
I think it's fascinating that sort of the evolution of that as a just as a story before
Mm.
the concept of the show and everything existed. But going back to ideas on TV that existed before
Yeah.
He-Man, have you ever come across Thunder?
Mm.
Thunder the Barbarian?
Yeah.
Like, the design is really questionable, right? It's a bit not quite right, it's almost an Alex Toth effort, but done by a school kid. But there's some nods, I think, to what
Yeah.
evolved into He-Man that existed in Thunder the Barbarian, right? Just that sci-fi fantasy,
Yeah.
element. That just
Yeah, because there's a very similar. So the character in Thunder the Barbarian was a human astronaut who, Buck Rogers style, got diverted and ended up on this planet. And then they kind of retconned that into He-Man, but with He-Man's mother, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, which I thought was a really nice touch. And that was they sort of they outlined that in the second episode, which was, very early to be like really laying down law and stuff like that, which I thought was super interesting as I look back at stuff like.
yeah. No, like you when you revisit stuff and then there's
Mm.
loads of cues that you missed because we would set them
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't realize that. There's a
Mm.
lot of love put into this thing to make things interconnected, even though the outside picture is let's make a story to sell toys.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's a really good point actually, like, because um you can look at Mattel, and Mattel obviously laid all the groundwork for the storyline and the characters and stuff like that. But it wasn't until it got to Filmation, which was the animation company that were put in charge of producing it, that they were the guys who really made it what it is today. So like, I always, as much as I love Masters of the Universe, and I love the toys. I love the toys, right? I had Castle Grayskull. My brother had Snake Mountain. I was telling my mother about this today, and she was saying, "Oh, I remember trying to find that bloody Snake Mountain with your nan, and going to Toys R Us, and we got the last one on the shelf a week before Christmas, whatever." And it's like, even my mother remembers it. Like, a Snake Mountain was always the cooler one because it had that thing you could speak into to make
Yeah, the
noise.
microphone. Yeah.
And it was like, but I was always disappointed because some of the characters, some of the toys didn't look anything like the characters in the TV show.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and the one that got me was Man at Arms, because he was the first character for the first toy that I bought.
Oh,
Because yeah, I went, and I remember it. I can remember it to this day. We went to a boy who was in our class at school. It was his birthday, Jason Brown. His mother and father took a few of us to Swansea. We watched a football game. we went to Debenhams and all the toys were there and we were allowed to buy one. I don't know why. I think because Jason got He-Man because it was his birthday, and I bought Man at Arms, but I was really disappointed because he didn't have a moustache. And he didn't look like, so I ended up drawing the moustache on him when I got home.
Customizing
And
toys already, like.
yeah, but obviously, and it's not until like years later that you realize that the toys were made long before the TV show came out.
Yeah.
And it was the
Interesting.
guys at Filmation who added all that extra detail,
I loved his the sort of the chin guard kind of piece, that was
Yes.
iconic, and there's just this shape. And yeah, I've always remember that. Just, oh, that's so cool. Just this protective guard kind of piece.
And I tell you what was good, and it was only yesterday, and we were watching small episodes, and in episode 2, there's a flashback to a man at arms, and he's young, and he looks like the toy. He's got no moustache, but it's just, and I was like, oh, okay. I can see how they kind of got that in, man.
Retrospective fixing, like
Yeah.
chuck him in there.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, I mean, I liked my favorite character, I guess, was Stratos.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Such a cool, like the shades, the
Yeah.
wings and stuff. I just thought that was a killer character. That was just
Yeah.
nice, very stylistic, and the swooping.
Yeah.
You could fly. Those wings were just, they were boss. Loved
I
it.
always like Ram Man. He was, in my mind, then he was the cooler of the toys, just because you could clunk him down and then he would spring.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you look, I don't know about you, but you look back at the show now, and it's the villains that stand out.
Yeah.
They were they were really good, and they were iconic. They were like, Trapjaw and Triclops, and and then obviously as the show went on, the villains and the new characters, they were. I'm sure half of these guys must have been on LSD or something because the stuff they were turning out. It was just surreal, wasn't it?
What bits of like kitchen or bathroom utensils can we stick on these these figures
Yeah.
that they can
Because
do?
that's it now. Was it Snout Spout? He was basically just a soap dispenser.
Yeah, there's an elephant soap dispenser, isn't it? Yeah, classic, man.
It is it's brilliant. And I think it was just basically, it was unfettered creativity. Filmation had it, and the big thing for them was that, first of all, I think, so Mattel approached Filmation and asked them to create a commercial or like an animated segment of a commercial for the Castle Grayskull toy.
Yeah.
And they apparently did, and I watched it, and I put a link to it in the comments. But it was really good, and it's very close to what the final show was.
Interesting.
And then because of that, when Mattel decided, oh, we're gonna make a show to advertise the toys, they went straight to Filmation and Lou Scheimer, who was the co-founder, and I think they sold it to them on the basis of doing 3 long form animations, and it was Scheimer who argued back that we should do a TV show because he wanted the syndication. He wanted the continuous work for the studio.
Yep.
He knew that if he had done just like 3 long form shorts, that would have been maybe like 6-7 months worth of work. Whereas he knew by doing a syndicated show, he could get maybe a year, 2 years worth of work out of it, which is, again, genius. And that's what's gone on since.
Well, it's just, you look at the legacy. How many episodes in the first season? 65.
2 series of 65 episodes.
Imagine that today.
I know.
Yeah, we got a season. We got a season to
I know.
do. 65 episodes. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I think more seasons now of anything. Well, I was going to say, it's not even right that, because different streaming channels have different criteria. Like some shows there'll be like 10 episodes, whereas Lloyd the Flies was 52. But only one series got produced. But then it does get classed as 2 series. 2 series of 26.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
The streamers, the way that they air them, it's a little hard to keep track of. And so we'll talk about it later, but the newer series of He-Man stuff, they aired that in a very sort of different way.
Yeah.
and not what you would expect a kids' TV show to be aired. But then, what was a kids' TV show? Sorry, I'm jumping right there. Oof, easy guy. In terms of the actual animated show, then, um, what was sort of standout episodes, or have you got a favorite episode? I mean, out of, I don't know, 30, it would be hard to pin down, wouldn't it?
It is. I think it's really hard to land on one
Mm,
out of many, because they do blend into one. I would watch them in sort of bulks anyway, for the most part. But when it was aired, um, and I've rewatched a lot of them, the one that stood out for me, weirdly, was Teela's Quest,
right? Yeah, cool.
episode 6. And weirdly, you mentioned earlier about He-Man's mum.
Mm,
He puts the vision thing on, which
that's it.
takes it back, right? And
Yeah,
that's the bit where I was like, oh, that ties it back to her being an astronaut from Earth,
yeah,
and brings all that back.
If I don't find shelter soon, I'll be smashed to space dust. My sensors indicate a small planet ahead. No telling what's down there. I'll just cross my fingers and hope for the best.
But
That's
it's also
the one.
the humor and the sort of the relationship between He-Man and Teela in that episode that I found just like, oh, this is cool, because they're just almost all right. There is a relationship as such, but they've got this brother and sister kind of annoyance factor in there.
yeah.
And where were you this afternoon?
Well,
I thought you agreed to run through some combat maneuvers with me.
I did? Oh, yeah, I did, I guess, but I got so busy this morning.
Written by Paul Dini and Marshall Moore. I think that episode for me was just different.
Yeah.
His relationship with Cringer and the way that you can see it evolving. We're pretty early in the entire franchise at that point. 6
Yeah.
episodes in, but I found that challenge and the way there's focus on a different character and another character's journey, rather than it always being about Adam and He-Man every episode. So that for me was one that stood out just because it was different, and you had a bit of history in there. You had a bit of the broader lore coming to you through those characters.
That's and that's bang on. It is because that episode is the one, might not be my favorite, but it's the one that stands out to me the most. And I don't know whether that's because I used to have, like, I know you'd have those cassette tapes with a book,
Yeah.
and you turn a page when they made a noise or whatever, and that I remember having that book, and obviously it not being as good as the TV show, and always enjoying the episode when that came on, and I ended up buying a DVD specifically with that episode on. But that, like you said, that so early in the franchise of what they knew was going to be 65 episodes, but laying down story tracks, that you weren't seeing anywhere else. You weren't seeing things explained. You weren't. There was never, to my mind, I might be completely wrong, there was never an episode of Bag Puss where they explain why how Dr. Jacob was got to where he got. It's like, it was just something you turned it on. It was like those characters in a little story, whereas this was like your favorite characters in a story with layers, like.
Yeah, it was Merman in that episode as well. But I think one of those evil characters, you just got the voice, the gurgling in the voice.
Yes.
That's so cool. How do you do that?
Years ago, her guardian, man-at-arms, rescued a victim I had chosen for the sea demon. I now demand revenge!
I just found that super interesting. And then obviously, Skeletor's kind of going, I know where she's going. Let's go and intercept the crystal seas and stuff. So I think it would, just super different. Very exciting.
I've watched a couple, and there was one where He-Man and Ram-Man and Stratos and Battle-Cat are trapped in this sort of underground tunnel, and there's water rushing, and they've got to get out. And the amount of rotoscoped animation, like side-on running animations, it's just like, you know, whoever animated that episode must have just been sitting back going, "Oh, that's just awesome." Even like the only one who obviously wasn't rotoscope was Orko, and he had
Yeah,
this like really
yeah.
funky little like floating run cycle. But it was
It's,
just like it's almost like Scooby Doo, like running back and forth. You know, it was really good.
there's a lot of Teela walking in and out of rooms. It
Yes.
was just like, Ralph Bakshi, Fire and Ice kind of like
Yeah.
animated loops, but roto, to hell and back.
Yeah.
Why do I surround myself with fools? Even the robots are smarter than you.
Watching that documentary you mentioned earlier about I think it's about the Power of Grayskull. It's on Amazon Prime at the moment.
Yep.
And they were going through the guys at Mattel about how they were naming characters, and it was basically one of the guys was just we were on this man thing. So we had He-Man, and then there was D-Man, which evolved into Skeletor because he was demonic, and there was C-Man, and which is like, oh, okay, that's obviously Merman. And they even went as far as we had a female character and we decided to call her Woman. It's like, oh my god, okay, you can design really cool characters, but you sure as shit can't name them properly. And then they said they were happy when they got to Filmation, and Filmation apparently like started looking at it, the writers, and they were like, is that what he's called? He's called He-Man, isn't he called like Grabthar or something? He's like, no, it's He-Man. It's like, we got to start renaming these. So they went with like Merman, and then they went with like Teela and Skeletor, and the guys at Mattel were like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that as well.
Yeah, I don't know if Seaman would have been.
It's got echoes of Stanley double worded, like,
Yeah.
every other character's SS and TT mad.
But what I love about it as well is how, on the part of Mattel, a lot of it was for financial reasons, So the whole Battle Cat thing came about because they wanted him to ride something. They wanted like a horse, but they had made the figure so big they didn't know what he could ride. And then there was this big gym line of like a natural park keeper guy with all his animals, and I think it was Mark Ellis told one of the guys, paint that tiger green and see if he can sit on top of it. And they were like, well, isn't it going to look a bit weird? He's like, no, no. So then when they come back, then they were like, right, so all these lines of tigers. And they were like, right, we don't need to pay X amount of thousands of dollars now for a new tooling system. We'll just repaint that tiger. And that's how Battle Cat came about. I mean, again, another iconic character, like because of a financial decision.
Yeah. And you're right. Iconic is definitely the word, because it stood out again. I've never seen anything like that, and it's so fresh,
Yeah.
but happy accident fresh, right?
Yeah.
To take that. I love the transition thing, and I think the big theme in He-Man for me is about that kind of the inner power, inner strength. Drawing from inwards to give yourself capabilities and abilities to do things.
By the power of Grayskull!
And the fact that transfers onto a, eyes, green and yellow striped kind of young cub into this beast of a thing. It's just awesome.
But again, it's like that sort of level of disappointment was because that was all a Mattel thing. Mattel never considered about the fact that he was going to turn into Cringer, because that was something that Filmation did. So therefore, no Cringer toy, no Orko toy, because that was a Filmation thing, So like, honestly, like the more I think about He-Man, right, the more disappointed I get that this IP is just disappointing me over the years with things that I can't have.
Did you ever have the Skeletor's cat, the flocked purple panther?
My brother had that. My brother was the bad guy. Yeah.
That was wicked. I loved that. is the the antithesis of Battle Cat.
Was he called Panthra or something like that? I can't even remember now.
Yeah,
So many cool names.
I don't remember the name of it. I just remember it
Yeah.
being this deep purple flocked tiger.
Yeah,
So cool.
yeah. And I remember, I mean, the best thing about Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain was like the sort. I mean, they still do it now, but it came with all these stickers. You had you had to stick on the inside, and you had to stick it just right, because if you went like off a little bit, there was no way that sticker was coming back off. So if it was off on a tangent, that's where it was going to live.
Yeah, I remember that. Similar for us. We had Snake Mountain. I think I had Snake Mountain. My brother had Castle Grayskull, and same thing, right? Just weird microphone thing and all
Yeah.
the stickers. Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
What do we have here?
It's Castle Grayskull. And it's mine. Not so fast, Beastman. He-Man!
You can pit He-Man against Beastman, playing for the power of Castle Grayskull. You have to put the castle together.
Beastman's escaping.
What's wrong, Dad? Dad, you saved the castle!
Castle Grayskull from the Masters of the Universe collection. He-Man and Beastman, each sold separately, from Mattel.
Didn't last very long though. I don't remember it past 86. I don't think it just either went out in the bin or whatnot. But
We kept ours for a while, and then like my parents were having a clear out, and that was back in the day before people realized you could make a bit of money off an old toy,
value
and
of
it's
it,
just
yeah.
like, that's unfortunately sitting in the tips somewhere in the valleys. That is.
I don't feel as bad as the guy who lost however many Bitcoin in Swansea stuff, right? So
No.
we're all right on that front. But my
Yeah.
dad, I went to see my parents the other day, and my dad still remembers them chucking out a Darth Vader head full of Star Wars figures,
Oh my God.
like
Yeah.
a whole set, and to this day he still remembers. Like, oh, gutted we got rid of that.
It's crazy, It's like, it's the power of hindsight. But when you think about the money that you've thrown out,
Yeah.
it blows my mind.
That's why every toy being collected these days is still in its boxes, never to be played with. I'm just looking at what I've got here now. I've got a Turtles from the movie line, the NECA toys from the movie
Yeah.
line. All those Turtles, Count Duckula soft plushie toy, which is bizarre. Found that in a charity shop. £2. It's like, yes. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's much that I remember of having apart from the figures. But I think I think we see these pieces, well, I do anyway, personally,
Yeah.
as pieces of art.
Oh God,
Like,
yeah.
Absolute
Yeah.
pieces of three-dimensional art.
Yeah.
And, the same with comics. My desk, I've got a stack of comics like that right next to me on the desk. Unread.
Yeah.
It's like the same with the books behind you, right? Or DVDs behind you.
Yeah,
How many of those books have you actually read?
Oh, don't even don't tell me why.
But it's those things, right? They're collector's items for me. They're not, there's no massive value in them yet, but I think there's a collection of pieces of art, whether they be three-dimensional or two-dimensional. That's how I see it now.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like you alluded to earlier, you would draw the characters, and oh God, we'd have annuals at Christmas, it'd be like a couple of comic strip stories, then it'd be a text-based, further adventure of one of the characters, and you'd always have the obligatory crossword and find the word search. I used to love those things. But I would trace off them, I would draw off them, until they were proper, like, weathered, and that, again, this is one of those shows that sparked my my sort of career journey, in a sense, you know what I mean? And I would just sit for hours and draw these characters, and I would put them in different poses, and they were always rubbish because I was like 6 or 7, but it was that's what. And I would say for about a year or two, it was all He-Man. That's the show that I loved. And then Transformers came along and just, expanding my mind even further. And, but that's another episode.
Just as I suspected. Hollow, you metal-munching moron.
I went over my parents a couple of months ago now, and my father had been shifting shit around the attic, and he found a lot of his vinyl LPs, his own stuff. But he found one of mine. I don't know if you can see this, but I'll put a photo of it up after. But it's Master of the Universe LP. And as soon as I saw it, I remembered it. And it's basically nothing to do with the cartoon whatsoever. There's songs, there's theme tunes. None of them are related. There's none of the voices. It is a thing made of its own. It's amazing. And it's actually on YouTube. So
Is it?
I'll send you the link after, but I'll post the link in the comments for this time, because it has to be, you've got to listen to it to believe it. It's amazing. It's just like some group of musicians decided to put on a show about Masters of the Universe and not read any of the books or watch any of the TV shows.
I've got to hear this. I've got to listen to it. I
I'll
love
send the link.
listening to.
Because as soon as I listened to it, I was like, I remembered it. I was like, oh my God, yeah. I used to love this when I was little. But again, another disappointment because there was nothing to do with the show.
Is there lyrics? Is there lyrics in it?
Yeah. I'll send you the link, man, honestly. And like I said, I'll post it in the comments because it is brilliant it's very much a vinyl of its time.
If it's like some Jethro Tull crazy stuff.
Honestly, it's like Fleetwood Mac-ish. Honestly, yeah, I'm telling you. Wait till you hear it now. I've hyped it up now, but it is brilliant.
Oh, that's my Sunday evening sketching sorted. Listening to that, we're going to go to a journey.
So in terms of this show, obviously it spawned, it was a massive hit. We've got voice cast, right? So we tried to look at this. We tried to find the sort of connective dots between different shows. And so far there's been a lot of focus in the episodes on American-based shows. And we've got, we've found one member of voice cast royalty, which is Frank Welker, who's still going today, and obviously was Ninja, Ghostbusters, Dungeons and Dragons, Megatron, And looking at the cast on Master of the Universe, there aren't any connective dots. It's very much, it's very much a cast that maybe because they were on the show for so long, you know what I mean, that they didn't sort of jump around to other things. But what they did was they covered a lot of bases within the show. So there wasn't one voice artist who did one character. So there was John Irwin as Adam and He-Man, who also did Ram Man, Beast Man, Faker, Whiplash, and others. And then obviously there was Alan Oppenheimer, who was Skeletor, but was also Cringer and Battle Cat, Man at Arms, Merman, Buzz Off, and Roboto. So the fact that he did Merman, I watched a documentary clip where he's talking about the voices and the fact that he did Merman and Skeletor, and so he would just be in front of the mic and he would just jump between the two. And so that gurgling noise, he would do Skeletor and Skeletor laughing, and then he would do the gurgling and Merman, and it's just like, I don't know, I don't know what it's doing to me, but it's like, oh, this can't be real. This is weird.
That's crazy.
And then you had Lou Scheimer, so he's the co-founder of Filmation, and he, as a pseudonym of Eric Gundon, did Orko, King Randor, Stratos, Manny Faces, Mechanic, Zodak, Fisto, Mossman, one of my favourites, Trapjaw, Triclops, Cobra Khan. He did loads. And then you had Linda Gary as Tila, and Evelyn, and Queen Marlena, and the Sorceress. And you had Lou Scheimer's daughter, Erica, who was also she directed the second series, and she did a lot of guest voices as well. So you had a small cast covering all these bases, and even watching those episodes now, I can't tell that they're the same people.
Yeah, I was going to say they're not. Yeah, you can't blend between them and go, it's the same person doing
No,
that and that. I would have never have known that.
no, absolutely, and especially Alan Oppenheimer, because the fact that's brilliant. The fact because we covered similar on the Rainbow episode where the fact that Ron Skelton did Zippy and George, that must have been amazing. But this the voices are very different, but these are completely different.
Yeah, yeah. I can just picture now, like 4 or 5 microphones around you, just
Yeah.
doing a full episode on your own. Like,
And they would record together as well. Like, can you imagine how cool it must have been to sort of like been sitting in there?
there's something about that, right? I've directed radio commercials and TV
Mm.
commercials and stuff, and having the voice actors in the same space makes such a difference because there's just this energy, this ability to riff off stuff in the same
Yeah,
space. So no wonder it does come across.
yeah,
Feels more
totally. It's
synergy than a loose edge.
I bet it must have been a laugh when they went off as well.
Especially with multiple voices being played in the same scene.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. See
Well,
how they
just
do.
flipping between Battle Cat and Cringer is one, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because they're two very different. Obviously, Battle Cat is gruff and Cringer is cowardly but there was never a point where they were talking to each other. You transform from one to the other. But to
Yeah.
have the whole the conversation, remember the script, amazing. John Irwin apparently he went quiet after He-Man, and he doesn't tend to do or didn't do conventions or anything like that. And then the theme tune then by Haim Saban and Shuki Levy, who were prolific around that time then because they were Ulysses 31, and Messina Cities of Gold. I've gone into it on another episode. There's loads. But I mean this theme tune. It's one of the few theme tunes that will instantly transport me back.
Yeah, same. It's when you get a song that draws you to the dance floor, right?
Yes.
You have those
Yeah.
hits, right? Then you're like, oh, off we go. This is definitely one that sort of turns heads and gets you to the
Yeah.
TV. You go, whoa, what's
Yeah.
happening on this one? But yeah, it is. I love it. I think I wouldn't say there are so many cartoon series in the 80s with iconic theme tunes.
Mm.
And the Saban Crew have been instrumental in the creation of quite a few of them, right?
Yeah.
I don't think He-Man is in my top 3 in terms of theme tunes because there are
Okay.
others that just, I don't know. I'm a metal guy, so there's a lot of like chunky chug theme tunes that
Nice.
are way more enjoyable, but I think it's still iconic.
I want to do Legacy, but let's do theme tunes now, and then we'll go into Legacy of Masters Universe after that. Go on, then. Have you got your top 3?
Let me think. My top 3. I think my top 3 would be Transformers is number 1. I think Transformers is for me number 1 theme tune. The original, the G1, the original series.
Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Second would be Thundercats.
Yes, class.
Third would be Turtles.
Oh, okay. That's going really well at the moment, actually. That's turning up in most people's top 3.
Yeah. Fringes, probably Mask.
Nice, yeah.
Crusaders, all the time.
Yeah.
And I think I think Ulysses is in that. So, but top three, I think there's Transformers.
Solid, man. Yeah, that is solid. And I would the Transformers one for sure. That for me, when I started this, I thought I didn't really have a top three, and then the more I spoke to people and really thought about it, I'm still not confident of what my third one is at the moment. But I'm definitely Transformers and Masters of the Universe. I could possibly put Mask in it, but I am wavering towards Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
Yes.
But that is a banger.
Yeah. And the other one that sort of sits there, but Visionaries is
Yes,
sort of
that's the one.
sits there a bit later, but Visionaries and Centurions is up there.
Yeah.
But again, they don't punch through like.
No, I can't. I like them, but they don't transport me back, So if we go legacy of Masters of the Universe then, right? So 2 series of 65 episodes, which spawned a sidequel, a spin-off of She-Ra, Princess of Power, which I remember liking, even though it was sold as a show for girls. I mean, you read the marketing memos about creating Masters of the Universe. It was a toy line for boys. They weren't even thinking about ladies, which obviously would never happen now, and rightly so. But look, I looked at one of the marketing memos in the Art of book earlier, and it said, when asked how these concepts could be improved, boys wanted more monsters, more shooting with guns, etc., blood and guts, gruesomeness, etc. Which fair. I mean, I don't remember blood and guts from Masters of the Universe, but whatever gets it.
More
So,
slime and goo.
Yeah, it took. We went sidequel with She-Ra, which did really well. Lasted a little bit longer than Masters of the Universe as they started to turn their attention towards that show. Spawned a movie, He-Man and She-Ra movie, I believe.
He-Man and She-Ra in The Secret of the Sword.
And a Christmas special. I'm sure, I'm pretty sure, all right, I'm fairly sure. I either saw the movie in the cinema or I definitely had it on VHS, but I've definitely seen it. But I can't remember anything about it.
Well, the Secret of the Sword.
Yes, that's it, yeah. What, didn't they use that as the origin of She-Ra?
Yeah, I think so. What does it say? The sorcerer summons Prince Adam and He-Man to take the magic sword, identical to his own. So abducting a baby girl, Hordak abducting a baby girl from Eternia, which turns out to be Adora.
Yeah.
It's
I can't
nice
for the
way
life of me remember it though.
No, I never saw that in the cinema. No. I think the first ever film I saw in the cinema was Santa Claus the movie.
Ah, class.
Yeah.
I think mine was Popeye. That was a bad decision, having a parents. So we had that, and then toy sales dipped, and they sort of pulled it. They pulled the whole line. It was late 80s.
85, 80.
Right, okay. So we had a couple of years then without He-Man, and then they decided to reboot it with the New Adventures of He-Man, which, as we start talking about the disappointments with He-Man, was another one for me, because it was, I mean, I've not seen a lot of it, because I just remember I'm pretty certain I watched like one episode and got like, this isn't He-Man, this is weird, I'm out.
Same. So for me, I think at that point I was into way more advanced stuff. I was into a lot of like anime and manga and that. And
yeah.
that sort of,
This was 1990 that it came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we would have moved on quite quickly, wouldn't we? Transformers would have come and gone. And
I'm trying to think if the New Adventures one is the one where he's got the strap is just one over his across his chest, so it's not.
Is it the one? It's the one where he had a ponytail.
Yes. So it is the one where he's just got this almost like a holster, but it's only over
Mm.
one shoulder.
Yeah.
And yeah, it had a bit of just a weird feel.
He's like wearing space denim.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I never got into that one. And they did the whole thing with the mini comics package with the characters and just to explain the lore. This show was produced by Jetlag Productions. And although followed the storyline from the mini comics, the series maintained the double identity of Adam and He-Man on the planet Primus. And he was like posing as a traveling merchant and the nephew of one of the characters. So yeah, not for me.
Yeah, just
It didn't do very well.
no. That wasn't the one that Mike Young was involved in, is it?
No, that one was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and that was 2002. Again, another line of new toy figures, but the show, like, as you said, created by Mike Young of Wales and Super Ted fame. And this one was, I remember kind of liking, because they went with a ongoing storyline, didn't they? And they really went and sort of worked back into the lore of the show.
I think this was the 2002 was when we actually finally got to see Skeletor's origins, or the reimagining of
That's
Skeletor's
it.
origins. Because I never knew that in the original first and second season, we never got that discovery. Skeletor was an alien, some foreign species that had arrived on Eternia. It wasn't really what we know in the later iterations as being Keldor. So
it did okay, apparently, but just didn't last long enough, and the character was redesigned to make the Adam and He-Man's designs were altered so that it made him more credible for when he did change. You know, 'cause obviously in the original show, he was literally this muscle-bound guy with blonde bob haircut. And when he transformed, he was just like a naked, muscle-bound guy with a blonde bob head and red pants, you know. So it's that Clark Kent thing, and it's like, oh, where's Clark gone?
I was just thinking the same. Yeah, hang on, wait a minute, he's taking his clothes off.
But so rebooted twice, and the thing that we haven't mentioned is the film, which again was a massive disappointment for me as a kid.
So much hope just
It,
shattered.
it wasn't He-Man. It wasn't He-Man. It was like this completely different science fiction film with a guy called He-Man. There was no Adam. There was no theme tune. That kills me when they make a film or something and they don't put the original theme tune in.
I do remember seeing this one either in the cinema and I think, yeah, really disappointed. I think they messed up the ending as well. They run out of budget, so there was very choice decisions at the end with the fight.
Yeah,
that were just like, well, a bit ropey.
Yeah, well, they go like full disco, don't they? Because like Skeletor's wearing this completely like shiny, shimmery gig setup, and I don't know. I remember the lead up to it. I remember like it was the first Panini sticker book I filled. You know, it was like, and I remember going to the cinema to see it with my Panini sticker book, and just coming out and going, oh, I didn't like that. That wasn't He-Man.
It's one way to attempt to capture an audience because of the legacy that came before it.
Yeah,
just totally destroy it.
But you see, like in that documentary, and they talking to Bill Stout, who was the concept artist on the film, you know, and he had done a load of the He-Man stuff, and obviously there wasn't as much sort of flesh on the show compared to the cartoon. And Mattel were like, well, hang on, that's not He-Man. He's like, He-Man can't dress like that and go into battle. This is like, you know, he can fight in this, and they'd gone maybe like a little bit too off comic book with it, you know, which from what I've seen of the film that's in production, they kind of are embracing that old classic look, you know.
Yeah, I've seen some clips myself, and I don't know whether it's AI or whether it's legit. Kind
I
of gone
know,
and
it's
seen
hard to
stuff.
judge, no?
It's like maybe we have to go and visit the set now to believe things.
I don't think it's
Well,
gonna get much better than those, insurance was it what was the advert?
He-Man and Skeletor, your soul money supermarket.
We come full circle and we go to the newer cartoons, which was so what came first, Revelations or Revolution?
I think Revelations.
So these were the Netflix produced Kevin Smith of Clarks and Dogma fame, written uh, reboot slash sequel of the original series.
Yeah, there's element. I think there's a hybrid, a mixture of elements in
Mm.
there where there's
Oh,
some.
they take it from everything, even the other TV series, the other series
Yeah,
produced.
the 2000. I think the design is very reminiscent of 2002. Some of the console,
Yeah,
He-Man
yeah,
and that. Um, But, yeah, just so refreshing that someone had
yeah,
picked it up. And for me,
yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe it's the same for you as well, right? But just captured the essence of
yeah,
what we remember, not what it
100%.
was, of a
Yeah, I
show.
was expecting to be disappointed again because this
Yeah.
franchise has absolutely burnt me over the years, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved the fact that it was Mark Hamill doing Skeletor. The fact that the voices have changed, the designs have slightly changed. But they did that show really well and elevated it for me. I thought, um, and took the storyline further than they could in a show, in a franchise, in a syndicated show, where they couldn't, you couldn't go too far with the story because they would always be played out of, you might have episode 81 on one day, and then you might have episode 3 one day. So that's the whole thing with syndication, isn't it? But this is
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, you can't, it's difficult with those, and anything out of sequence,
Mm.
it needs to make sense in a self-contained episode. But with especially with streaming channels, the variation of length of episodes is that is a revelation in a way, because you can kind
Yeah,
of craft something that doesn't, it's not 42 minutes, it could be 55 minutes and gets the message across because you need that space and time to do something. So there's a benefit to doing stuff on a streamer, non-linear. Anyway,
mm,
and for me, I felt the same. The ability to explore the characters in a way more grittier way.
yeah,
Um, Animation was amazing. Loved it. Just
yeah,
the animals, the
yeah,
dynamism, just it's the energy
yeah.
you thought you had in the original series, but
Mm,
for our eyes,
yeah.
in 2023, 24. So
And a hell of a voice cast as well.
it's impressive.
Because the
It
first
is.
series was Sarah Michelle Gellar was Teela.
Yeah.
Uh, like I said, Mark Hamill was Skeletor. And I thought the best voice casting in a long time, Danny Trejo as Ram Man. I think he had like 2 lines in the whole of the series.
Yeah. He definitely gave it a flavor. Um,
But it
but
was it was emotional as well, though, because spoiler alert, there was 1 or 2 of those characters died, and then one of them, couple of them come back, and this and that, but it was, yeah, it was brilliant. I really, and they've set it up, even though at the end of the second series they kind of wrapped up the storyline. They set it up that they could make more if they wanted to, and I really hope that they do.
yeah, I mean, I think the universe is big enough to explore those,
Mm,
future storylines. Um, the that legacy of the franchise has got enough depth in it to you can go
yeah,
anywhere with it.
yeah,
Yeah, it was just really nice to see it on screen for a modern audience,
yeah,
exploring themes that you could go a little bit deeper in, and you know those those relationships,
mm,
uh, you know, between Man at Arms and Tila. Yeah, I
yeah.
thought it was great. Really enjoyed it.
And even though the
And
theme tune wasn't as masterful, it was still a bloody good theme tune. Its
yeah,
transformation music is really good.
yeah, yeah, all around. It was it's what got me back into that world, Masters Universe
Oh, that's
world.
awesome.
Because there's been so many other things. Turtles has done really well, and there's that
Yeah.
resurgence with the films and the animated films and stuff. Transformers is doing something similar, and there was a sense that this was being left behind and being forgotten about.
Yeah.
Thundercats has had iterations upon iterations, and whether they've been continual disappointments, questionable. But this one,
Mm.
for certain, I, like you, have felt that it's been let down too many times. And
Yeah.
you imagine being Kevin Smith with the responsibility of
I know.
what's come before it and going, oh
He
shit,
took a lot of flack, man.
yeah, he did.
I'm just glad
But
Michael Bay didn't get his greasy mitts on it.
there's no there's no glow in the dark swords or sidekicks going on here. No thanks.
360-degree turnarounds of the transformation sequence. Ugh.
Yeah, but no,
Oh, that's awesome, man.
definitely turned me on to the what then was the other series, which is me. I love it. I love the CGI show.
Yeah. Now,
Um,
I've not watched it. I've not gone near it. I saw an image of it and I thought, oh no, that's not the Kevin Smith one. I can't be burnt again. But is it worth my time?
it depends.
Okay.
If you want rushed animation,
Um,
if you want misaligned textures on on the meshes of characters, uh, then be my guest.
hard pass.
but but I think the way the designs have
Yeah.
evolved, the way that they've made the emphasis on the transformation between Adam as a
Yeah.
prince kid
Mm.
and the evolution of him as He-Man. There's such a stark contrast between that because it's wide, it's bulky, right? They've
Mm.
gone, ooh, let's push it to the nth degree on two sides. That aspect, I think, is really cool.
Mm.
The transformation sequences are wicked. The overall designs and the way they've changed Man at Arms and Ram Man as it was,
Yeah.
but it's a female with a big crystal in her head. I can't
Okay.
remember her name, but I I love the character designs. Cringer is a bit cringe, the
Mm.
character itself, but when it transforms, oh my
Mm.
god, it's what you think of how
Alright.
awesome Battle Cat was when you were a kid,
Okay.
and it is now. The just expanded claws and stuff.
Mm.
It's so playful, um,
That's
and I
interesting.
just think them playing with the shapes of each of these characters.
Mm.
I way prefer it. It's kind of it's cartoony, and I think with CG they're pushing the cartooniness way more than
Mm.
what I would have
Yeah.
thought they would have done. And I guess normal doesn't work in an
Yeah.
audience in this day and age. So they've
Mm.
really dialed up those things that would be iconic in shape.
That's
It
interesting.
isn't for everybody. It really isn't
Yeah.
for everybody, but it's just elements of it I loved. But the funniest thing is the way they portray Skeletor in it. Just this super wide, massive back, the hood, Skeletor's reveal, and the line he says when he turns
Mm.
around and when you first see him in the series is just it's just funny. Um, so yeah,
Ich
again, you got the revolutions, and then this for me was like,
uh,
this is the show that I thought I was watching back in the day,
wow.
but it's now for a little
Okay.
bit more of
I
a
might
modern.
I might give that a go. I might give that
I
a
would
go.
say,
I've always
some,
got Revelations to fall back on.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I think pinch of salt,
Yeah,
it,
sure, okay.
it's definitely a kids show.
Mm. Yeah,
It's
it's
not
interesting.
it's not an adult show of what we remember as He-Man, but
Yeah.
it's a kid show, and the designs are very much that. But it's just the whole shape, fascinated. The sorceress is amazing, really good in it, and the way they use Havoc as the the evil
Yeah.
juice, the evil energy. They're really grounding a lot of those principles from the original show and
Cool.
giving that a nice twist. And
Is
he's up there.
this in like its third series now? Is that it's been going for a while? Isn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember if it's the Art of book,
Oh, okay.
and there's some. Look, so
Oh, wow.
Crass, that's kind of Ram Man
Oh,
character.
okay.
Crass. It's pretty decent. It's beautiful designs. That's the thing. It's beautiful. Hey, there's my guy.
Yeah. Stratos is going.
So,
Wow.
but yeah, I liked it, and I think it's what tied it back to the original series for me a bit better.
Okay. Well, you sold me. I'll give it a try. Like
You
I'm
be in
knocking
the
on your
first
door
episode.
tonight. Like I'm knocking on your door tonight crying, right? You know why?
You ruined it again.
Ah! Well, like Revolutions give me hope that the film could be good, that,
Yeah.
because you get in the right hands, and I think Travis Knight, obviously like a guy and director of Bumblebee, which was for me the best Transformer movie they made so far, so I think it could be, and everything I'm seeing and hearing of it is, there's nothing about it that I'm like, oh, I don't know, I kind of feel hopeful for it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. Bumblebee
I just
is.
hope they've got that theme tune in there.
If they forget that, you can imagine the flack.
I know it's gotta be. Come on, it's gotta
Yeah.
be in there.
If you got to have all of those pieces, all of the
Yeah.
components, and it's a big part of it. So I'm excited. Very good. Definitely.
Oh, that was awesome, man. I love that. I love talking about cartoons.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about series wise from that era, from our youth.
Definitely. Well,
And
like
just
I said, I said it to you before. Pick another one, and we'll do it again.
Batman, definitely on the Batman radar.
Nice. Okay, I'm in.
Good stuff.